Hi there. I'm Lelia Lewis, and welcome to another edition of New Day, New Beginnings. Now, as we all know, tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I just want to take a minute to give a salute to all the wonderful mothers out there. Now, I know many of us don't have our mothers with us here today, as I don't, like me, but I know that we can all reflect on times we have shared together. Now, some of them were really wonderful, but some maybe not so. But nevertheless, she's was still and is still your mom. But today I want to reach out. I want to reach out to those who still have their mom, whether she's still active in your life or separated from you. The point is you still have her. She still exists here with you. And that's why my lesson today is titled You Only Get One. Now somebody might say, one what? One mother. Now, there are numerous reasons for separation, and I understand that. It could be abuse or neglect or some stressful situation, and some conditions are really terrifying. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But I know there are many more things, but still, she is your mother, and still, you only get one. Yeah, I know many children come from broken homes. Maybe you did, due to the parents fighting and arguing, and you know, that could be verbal or physical. Then it goes into the name calling and the foul language, and then the abuse becomes physical, it becomes mental, and it also becomes emotional. And sometimes the children do become victims of the same type of abuse. Now, I realize that many young people, as well as society, they blame the parents for their child's bad behavior. And that may very well be true. In many instances, it is. But just suppose she wasn't strong enough to withstand whatever her abuse was. Or just suppose she couldn't afford to take care of you on her own. Or just suppose maybe she was brokenhearted. Maybe she did try to take care of you by herself and she realized she couldn't handle it. And then she started taking it out on you. I don't know what your scenario is, but you still got a mother. And many times children are punished for the shortcomings of their parents because the parent is angry. She's angry because he's gone, and every time she looks at you, she gets mad at you because you're the reason her life is harder. And we're going to come back to that in a few minutes. But I just want to say that so many uh, children are in foster care, and that means being shifted from one family to another. And that means they never really feel safe and secure. They never really get a feeling of love or affection. And maybe they don't get any attention. Well, let's define love. That's easy. It's a show of kindness, gentleness, and caring. And what is affection? It's just the hugs and the kisses and the smiles and attention is just that, a focus on them, their laughter. You laugh with them, you have conversation with them. What do they like? What don't they like? What are they interested in? What are they good at? It's time you shared with your mother, what time that she gave to you. And as the child gets older, they look for respect. Now, personally, I was divorced at a very, very young age. So I've been a single mom for many, many years. But I'll tell you what, the one thing I learned really early on is life, before my girls were even toddlers. Children do not require anything that's super costly because it costs nothing, absolutely nothing, to give love, to give affection, and to give attention. And these are three things that children crave most. And as they get older, what do they want? They want your approval. But these things should be lifelong anyway. It's not something that you do because they're toddlers or babies and they're cute and cuddly and that you hug them and you kiss them and you do that all the time. You laugh with them. I mean, these are things that should just, even though the direction of them may change, but those are three things that should never go away. Those are basics, three basic things. And these things are things that cannot be replaced with gifts or money or stuff. And it can and does build resentment. Now, I'm going to come back to that because I want to go over reasons why moms leave. But let's fast forward for a minute because we know whatever category you happen to be in or your scenario is, we know that it festers anger and resentment and all types of emotions. But now you're no longer a child, you're an adult maybe, but you're still carrying the same grudges and resentment that you had for all those past years. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. But first, we must begin a healing process so that we can close the book on the past and focus on a brand new beginning. Now, no, it's not something that's easy and it's not going to be easy, but it is something that is mandatory. Mandatory because without it, you will never have the inner peace that it can bring. Therefore, what are you doing? You're doing this to yourself. You're making it hard on you. Now, I'm sure we've all been hurt, disappointed, offended, and some have even been forgotten numerous times in our lives, some more severe than others. And many people will say, well, you just don't understand. You don't know what I've been through. And you know what? They're probably right. But the point is, how do we get past this? That now I'm going to go back to what we were talking about previously about why moms leave. And while we're talking about this, I want you to be thinking about what you would do in this situation. Now, first, what did I say? I said maybe she wasn't strong enough to withstand the abuse. Well, abuse comes in all kinds of forms. We know that. There's physical, emotional, I mean, all kinds of stressful things cause abuse, verbal. A guy can talk you down. I mean, physical abuse don't work for me. For me, abuse don't work for me, period. I don't like all that chaos and confusion. But maybe she stayed because of what was the other thing? She couldn't afford to take care of you on her own. Maybe she needed that income. Maybe that was the only way she could keep a roof over your head, to keep food on your table. Maybe she was heartbroken. Maybe she thought, oh, I'm going to have a wonderful life. I've got my own family now. And maybe that made her change. Maybe she was so heartbroken at being left with you and her. Maybe she did turn to alcohol. Maybe she started drinking just a little a day, and then it became a daily habit. And then that wasn't enough to ease her pain. And maybe she did turn to drugs. But all these things she was doing to relieve her pain and her stress. And in doing so, she might have lost sight of reality, which was you, because she just kind of acted like you weren't there, ignored you. And maybe she tried to take care of you herself and then realized she just can't handle it. And then she began to take it out on you. And that happens a lot because the guy walks out on you, you're left with the child. And if the child looks like him or any of his family, the minute she may look at you, she may get angry all over again and become abusive to you. So she's taking it out on you. But don't forget now, each thing that we talked about, think about it if you were in that place, in that position. Now, I know many times, a lot of times, children are punished for their parents' shortcoming, and I realize that many times that happens, and they end up in what, foster care, and they're shifted from one family to another, and at this point, they never really get the feeling of any type of love or affection, or maybe get no attention at all. So, what's love? It's an easy thing. It's an easy thing. Love is simply showing kindness, gentleness, and caring. That's what love is. That's not hard. Affection. Affection is just the hugs and the kisses and the smiles, not just when they're babies and cute and cuddly. And attention is conversation. This is what they need as they get older. Time shared with them. They need time with you. Find out what they like, what they don't like. A lot of times nowadays, they have what them things called the iPad, and they get all this computerized stuff for the little toddlers. Well, of course, they know how to work it because they're smart. But the point is, it's not giving them the feel of love or affection. It's just something to occupy their time and maybe give you some peace or quiet time. But that's not what it's all about. Look, I've been divorced forever at a very early age, very early. But at that age, it did not take me long to realize that children are not super costly because it costs zero, nothing to give love, affection, and attention. And these are three of the things that most children crave. Now, these three things are mainly, I'll say, the main things that should be lifelong. I mean, the direction of it may change as they get older, but the basics, they should always be there. Those three things shouldn't fade. They may change and die, and in how you do it, but they should still be able to feel your love, your affection, and as they get older, they also want your approval. And now these things are things that can't be replaced with gifts and money and stuff like that. Rich people do that a lot. They buy the kids anything they want, give them everything they want. But that's not what the kid's looking for. I see this stuff on TV all the time. These schools and get kicked out because they want attention. The parent is off somewhere, either working or at the club, the social club or whatever they do. And they think the kid is okay because they got a car to drive to school. Okay, let's fast forward. Now, we know that these things fester in us. And this is where the resentment and the anger and stuff comes from. But you're an adult, but you're still carrying that same baggage, that same anger, and that same resentment from all those years ago. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, we've got to begin a healing process. That's so we can actually close the book on the past and focus on a brand new beginning. Now, no, it's not easy, and I'm not going to say it is. And sometimes, it's something that is mandatory. No matter that it's not easy, it's still mandatory. Why? Why? Because without it, you will never have the inner peace that you need. So therefore, you're just doing harm to yourself. You're harming yourself all by yourself with your anger and your resentment. And I'm sure we've all been hurt or disappointed and offended and in many cases forgotten. And numerous times, in our lives, sometimes it's more severe than others, but many will say, well, you don't understand, and you don't know what I've been through. And yeah, well, that may be true too. But the point is, how do we get past it? Now, we already went over why moms leave, and we did say because she wasn't strong enough to withstand the abuse, and she couldn't afford it without the other income or with that income. So she just kind of took it to protect you, or, the heartbreaking thing. Maybe she did turn to drugs or alcohol or just kind of forgot about you. And maybe sometimes they feel like, I can't handle this. And they just do kind of give kids up for adoption and figure they can get a better home or whatever the case may be. But the point is, we got to get past that. We've got to get past you and what you feel. Now, after you put yourself in those positions, what do you think? How would you react? 9 times out of 10, we don't know. That's not a position you can just imagine. We all say what we would or would not do because we never had to do it. Right? Okay. But the next thing we've got to do then is learn to forgive. Because forgiveness is what? It's simply giving up your resentment, your ill will, for your grudges, and sometimes even hatred. I'm never going to speak to her again, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm done with this. And and I'm not saying that to forgive someone is a weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of strength. And I'm not saying it's okay, because it's not. Or even trying to act like it didn't exist. So many times people try to act like it don't exist. It never happened. Yes, it did. If it didn't happen, you wouldn't be still dragging it along. Forgiveness is for your benefit. It helps you come out of the events of the past. This is for your benefit. But first, you've got to recognize it for what it really is. And what it really is an emotional thing. It's an emotional thing. And it's anger. What do you feel? Think to yourself, what does this make me feel? Does it make you feel grief? Does it make you angry? Does it make you, does it hurt? Of course it hurts. I'm sure it does. Of that, I can be sure. But whatever it is, you've got to let it out. And if the anger means name calling by yourself, not face to face, whatever it takes to bring this out of you. And most people hold it in, and that's where it festers because they won't speak on it, they won't admit what it is, and then try to work it out. And a lot of times you try to figure out why they did this to me. Well, why did my mom, why? I wonder, I don't understand. Then you start thinking, well, maybe it was me. You know, you're trying to understand why they did it, why they left. What was their motivation? And sometimes after you think about it, like if you put yourself in their place, now maybe you can halfway understand it. But sometimes it's not even about us. It's not about you. Sometimes they've got their own demons. They're fighting their own demons. You don't have nothing to do with nothing at all. Nothing. So, you know, you just don't know what, I mean, you can't try to figure out another person. That's just not going to happen. So once you try to imagine, you know, being in their place, and you're recognizing what's going on, or you're halfway trying to understand. I want you to refer, I did this on purpose, go to Luke's chapter 6. Verse 37 says, judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Well, to judge simply means to decide. Have you already decided I'm not talking to her no more? Have you already condemned her, so to speak, found her guilty? Now you're being judged, jury, and everything, and you're walking away. I'll fix her. Think about it. Think about how it affects you. Because if you forgive, it says, you shall be forgiven. Now, in other words, that one verse is simply saying one thing. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. Now, you may be an adult and already have children. Think about this. How would you feel if they stopped speaking to you because you all had a rift and now they just kind of blew you off? Put yourself in that position. And whatever your scenario is, ask yourself, have you already decided? Have you already been the judge? Have you already found them guilty? Have you condemned them? That's what happened to Jesus. He was nailed to the cross, but he still said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they didn't. They didn't. They crucified the one person who could give them everything they needed. They crucified him. They didn't give him no break at all. And the next thing we need is self-control. We can't go just flying off the handle. I mean, you know, to have self-control simply means just what it says. Be in control of yourself. I mean, right now, we see so many people flying off the handle and shooting and stabbing and taking people's lives and killing kids because of anger. And all this just does is make things worse. These people flying off into these rages and doing all this stuff. You can't afford to do that. Sometimes this might be a just good time to keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. I mean, remember that saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all? Maybe that's a time to do that. And so many things are said out of anger or hurt or, disappointment that later you regretting it and you don't know how to apologize maybe. Well, then it's too late. The words are out. You can't take words back. Me, I just get quiet on you because I don't want to be the one that have to regret anything I say. And the next thing is forgiveness. I mean, even if you've done something wrong and the person forgives you, you still got to learn to forgive yourself. And that's where a lot of people run into trouble. Forgiveness isn't just for yourself, but it's for others. And, it's going to happen over and over again in your lifetime. Why? Because we're all human and we all make mistakes. And by forgiving others as well as yourself, you're really releasing yourself from being bound to the past. And that's extremely important. Forgiveness isn't about acceptance or condoning what someone's done, mistreatment or bad behavior. This is about peace. This is about getting over the difficulty. This is for peace within. This is what gives you a new life. I mean, the whole process, it's difficult at first. I don't kid you about that. But the point is, it's worth it. It's worth it. So, in saying all this, I say, all of you out there that have mom issues, I just say, take your time, rethink your scenario, put yourself in her place. Maybe you have children of your own. Think about that. Would you want them to treat you the way you're treating her? The key to forgiving others is to stop focusing on what they did to you and start focusing on what God can do for you. He is a God of second chances. What about you? What about you? He's only a prayer away. He'll give you guidance. He'll give you direction. And there is no better way. Give it a try. Give her a second chance. And my closing words for today are, let God lead you. He's never been lost, and he definitely knows the way. And until next week, I'm Lelia Lewis. Thanks for joining me, and have a wonderful Mother's Day.